What's up, guys? Happy Sunday. I'm Chuck Silver here with Jayhawk. Can bring you a little two gamer. It's kind of a difficult slate, just say that up front, but hopefully we're going to do our best to try to navigate it better than the field. Jayhawk, how we doing? How do we feel about today's little two gamer?
Yeah, man. Definitely was hoping for more than two games here, but yeah, definitely an interesting two gamer here. Big piece of news here was Zion. We'll obviously cover, but that could ultimately change the slate. So yeah, very very fun slate here for two
Yeah,
games.
it's really tough to talk about this. We're going to save New Orleans for last. Hopefully we get that Zion news before the stream ends, but Zion a late Q tag is usually never a good sign. It's his hamstring. I am always going to lean towards him sitting out, but he's played in situations like this, so we really have to see. But like I said, we'll save that for last. So we'll talk about Orlando and Dallas first. Now, with only two games, I've mentioned that Orlando's playing at a faster pace, but they still have the lower total tonight, 221 versus 230 in the New Orleans Atlanta game. Even if Zion sits, I don't expect the total to change too much. So that's probably still going to be the stronger game for fantasy, but there's a lot of pieces to like in this Orlando Dallas team. So let's start with Orlando with Paolo Banchero out. What do we like from here?
Yeah, man. Let's start out with Suggs. I feel like he's probably the clear cut got to talk about coming off that huge game last game. I think he dropped like almost 30 real, had a bunch of assists, bunch of rebounds. I think he looks fantastic here. So he'll probably be my number one target here. Obviously, he's going to be chalky. And then Franz, I think, is solid. Obviously, he's the cover boy, right? So we got to make sure to shout him out here. I think he's solid. And then obviously we have to wait on this Wendell Carter news, which is going to be huge here. If he sits, it's going to make guys like Mo Wagner, maybe Jonathan Isaac. I should get a bump as well.
Yeah, I kind of almost just want Wendell Carter to play
Yeah,
because this is already kind of a weird slate. And if we get Wendell Carter out, that's just going to bring us more value in Mo Wagner, even though his price is up a little bit. And then I was going to mention Tristan Da Silva, I think is a good punt if Wendell Carter ends up sitting. But it's just the lineups are going to be kind of similar because there's not that many payups, especially if Zion sits. So we'll see how that turns out in a few minutes. But yeah, I'm all about Suggs. It's pretty interesting that his OF index score is higher than Franz Wagner, which I never would have expected to happen. I mean, the ownership difference, yeah, it makes sense to me. 7,900 on FanDuel for Jalen Suggs, at least. This is more correct than the 6,500 on DraftKings, right?
yeah, dude. 6,500 just seems way too cheap. I mean, obviously we would not have said that 2 weeks ago, but for his role right now, I think it's too cheap.
Yeah, and I think that's really just that's it. I mean, he looks good in the model, and for the role he's at right now, he should be closer to this FanDuel price, closer to 8K. We're getting a major discount. He's phenomenal play. A big thing with him. So Cole Anthony also projected for massive ownership after coming in at 5% on the last slate. I thought he was going to be pretty owned. He wasn't. I played 4 minutes in the first half. I want to say he missed two or three shots, had a turnover, maybe a foul, and then he got benched for the rest of the game until blowout. And that resulted in Jalen Suggs playing the entire third quarter and starting the fourth quarter and staying in until they gave up. So I think that is huge because my big problem with Jalen Suggs before was he wasn't really getting over 30 minutes, but they've told us that they're willing to run him huge minutes. So to me, Jalen Suggs is one of the top plays on DraftKings.
Yeah, 100% agreed with you, man.
Eating that chalk there. I'll be over that 69%.
Oh yeah, I mean, I agree. Like he should be at least 7,500 here.
What has Suggs? Well, first of all, what's up, Heath? How we doing? Unicorn Love, glad to see you. And then I don't even know if that flashed on the screen, but what has Suggs changed from last year to this year? I mean, he's definitely gotten better as an individual player, but the main thing that we're interested in is that the opportunities changed. His usage rate is up from last year, but the main thing that I just mentioned, like his minutes, he was kind of soft capped around 30 minutes last year. And that's not really the case anymore because let's just see exactly what he played last game. The first game without Paolo, played 35. This might have been without Paolo too, but either way, if he's going to be up 35, 37 minutes, this 34.6 we have might be a little bit low.
Yeah. Minutes cap. You were talking minutes wise for Suggs.
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
I mean, even if you give him an extra 2 minutes on top of this 34, he looks even better.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So I mentioned Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony. I think I was mixing him up with Anthony Black. I'm sorry. I was looking at the ownership here. Cole Anthony is not even showing up in the model because we probably haven't projected for less than 10 minutes. Anthony Black, though, I guess is the guy that we're going to talk about here because he did get the minutes. He's definitely better on defense. Magic are more comfortable running him because we already saw that happen. So Anthony Black, 32%, 4,200. Are we looking at him?
Yeah, so this is the guy I definitely wanted to talk to you about here. I didn't really have a huge stand on Black here, Anthony Black. I think he's fine at 4,200. Um, I I would probably prefer some of these other mid 4K guys as pivots potentially in the late game. But what do you think about Black? Do you like him? Or?
I mean, I am always going to prefer to get to anybody else but Anthony Black, but this is kind
Yeah,
of weird because Paolo's out, and there is usage to go around as much as Jalen Suggs is taking up, even with Franz Wagner there, even if Wendell Carter's in. I mean, I'm going to get to some Anthony Black today. Let me see if I got over the field actually in my first run. I can't imagine I did, though. Anthony Black. Yeah, I'm way under the field on Anthony Black. It's probably going to stay that way, but it's a 2 game slate, so he doesn't have to put up that ceiling to make the winning lineup work.
yeah, I think he's cheap enough where if he gets you like 20 to 25, obviously you want 25. I think he can make his way into the optimal, but I agree. I'll probably be under as well.
So we have Cole Anthony, not even in the model. I'm assuming we have him projected for 9 minutes, maybe even less, but 3,900. It's a 2 game slate. Maybe the coach gives him one opportunity in the first half. If he doesn't play terrible, he gets a few more minutes. Is this worth? I mean, it has to be worth a percent or two if we're making 150 lineups today, right?
Yeah, definitely, man. Obviously, Anthony, when he does get minutes, he's just pretty productive player. So I don't hate a couple percent like you mentioned. Yeah, I think it's fine on 150.
And it's like his floor is zero, like an actual zero.
Yeah,
He could not even play tonight. But like I said, if you're making a bunch of lineups, I think he's worth mixing in a little bit because it's just like a lot has to go right, but it's an easy leverage point to get to, I guess.
yeah, completely agreed there.
Is Missy starting? I don't think we got that lineup yet, but he did start the last game.
Hmm. I think he should, but we'll see.
I was going to say, I wonder if that changes with Zion out.
Um, I think if Zion sits, do you think they'd start Javonte Green potentially?
At the 4. That
Yeah,
sounds right. Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, I think Missy starts either way, but I don't know. That was just based off last game.
I mean, I think Missy should start. Especially if Zion's out, he's
Yeah,
just infinitely more athletic than Daniel Tice, and he looks good out there. He's a little raw, but let him run. He's projected for 40% ownership. I'm assuming that this is the field assuming that he starts. We have him projected for 23 minutes. Daniel Tice for 16, so we have him starting. It looks like in the model.
yeah. Do you want to talk about him real quick? Do you like him at this ownership, or what's your kind of stand there with Missy?
I am not sure. Let me see what I got in my exposures. Yeah, I got a little bit over the field here, so it looks like I'll be on Missy today. But again, if we lose Zion, we have way less payups, and so Missy might not be as necessary.
Sure. I like to think of him. He gets a lot of blocks. So I do like his block upside on FanDuel as well. At 4,200.
That's a good call. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 34%, getting a little bit of an ownership discount.
Yeah.
He's much better. If Zion's out and he's starting, then I'll probably be on him heavier. Even though I just said we're gonna lose a pay up, I feel like his projection could go up. I don't know if the projected minutes could go up though, because doesn't even have a center being on the court for all 48. I guess Jeremiah Robinson Earl. I mean, is this worth some shots? Kind of like what I just said with Cole Anthony. I'm pretty sure this guy will see the court. I don't even know if he'll see the 12 minutes, but 3,500, 3,700 if Zion is in.
Yeah, I feel like he's kind of the same as Cole Anthony. If you want to get a sprinkle of him in 1, 2, 3, 4%, I'd be fine with it. I'm kind of curious. Like, do you think they like Tice enough, or are they kind of just like between Tice and Earl, just whoever's playing better, they're going to give the backup run?
The thing is with Tice, I see him as like that veteran.
Yeah,
And I mean, they have BI too on the court, but they need Tyson for some minutes. So I don't know if Robinson Earl could overtake Tice, but I could, if Zion is out, and even maybe with Zion's in for a few minutes, I could see them running Earl and Missy at the same time, or Earl and Tice on the court at the same time. So I don't think that they eat into each other too much.
yeah, I agree with that.
Suggs or Irving? It's such a crazy question, but it's absolutely valid. Let's see what the model
That's
says.
tough.
So Kyrie's more expensive on DraftKings. Where's Suggs here? I mean, it's just for the price discount on DraftKings. If it's one or the other, the model is telling us it's Suggs.
Yeah, I mean, this 2 weeks ago, I would have said Kyrie Irving by a long shot, but now it's like um, kind of almost a true toss up with his role, right? Like that's crazy.
I mean, because remember, the model is not price sensitive.
Yeah,
So the model is kind of telling us that their ceilings are very similar, and we're getting a pretty good price discount on Suggs. Suggs should be closer to the 7,900. Now, with the shooting guard eligibility that Kyrie has, and even just with the point guard, there's enough flexibility. You can play both in a lineup. I don't
yeah,
think it has to be one or the other. To me, like Suggs is probably going to be my highest owned player tonight.
yeah. I was just about to say that you can definitely play both on tonight's slate. I think they're both great plays.
Hey, Shannon Thomas, thanks for being here. Have we discussed Wendell Carter? Any lean if he plays? I just I don't know anything about the situation other than what Underdog told me. So I'm hoping we get that news before the stream ends. That's the second game though, so we're gonna get that news as soon as that first game locks.
Yeah, I usually have a hunch. Like I think we both agreed we think Zion probably sits, but I think Wendell's probably a true 50-50 in my opinion. We'll have to kind of monitor that.
Yeah, and if anyone in the chat sees anything on that, let us know.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, there's no information other than he's questionable. So, well, hopefully we get an update on that. If Nance and Richardson both start, which do we prefer? If I'm not mistaken, did Nance leave the game with an injury?
I
Is that right?
I'm not sure I did not end up playing. So
He only played 8 minutes, so
let me check.
yeah. Nance was an awesome play on the previous slate. He came in much lower owned than he should have when they announced him starting kind of late in front of Roddy. It did not matter because he got hurt, I think, and Roddy ended up putting up a good score. So Ricochet had a really bad game, like probably as bad as you can get after kind of flashing some really good potential. Only got 20 minutes. He shot 1 for 9. Didn't really put up any stats except for a rebound. I don't mind getting back to Ricochet. I mean, his price is up slightly, but especially on this slate, we don't need that ceiling from him to be a good play. It's
Yeah,
value. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say Ricochet. I call it the because Lamelo's been fouling so much. I'm just calling it the Lamelo Ball effect. The dude cannot keep his hands to himself. Literally, I think he's picked up 2 fouls in the first half at least past 3 games. So it's been a lot of foul trouble recently for Ricochet. So if he stays out of foul trouble, man, I think he looks awesome. But it just you can't do it, man. It's insane.
Yeah, we have him projected for 25 minutes. If I'm not mistaken, that's a little bit lower than we had him projected previously. His value score definitely tanked. He saw 27, 26, 35, and then 20 in a game where he played terrible. Picked up 3 fouls in that game. I don't mind getting back to him. The ownership is a little higher than I'd like to see taking shots on him at the slightly higher price, but on a 2 game slate, I don't think you want to cross anybody out. So I like getting to Ricochet.
Yeah, I love getting him for the potential upside he does have. So I'll be going right back there in tournaments.
And didn't we get news that Okongwu was out?
Yeah, I can't lose that.
Okay, let me refresh the model. So, because Larry Nance wasn't showing up yet.
Yeah,
Okay, so let me look at the minutes again. Ricochet for 26. Okay, I mean, it's like one more minute, but that's fine. And then Larry Nance for 17 minutes. Not a great value score. 4,100, 3,900. 9% on DraftKings on a 2 game slate. I mean, I'm going to take shots on Larry Nance tonight.
yeah, I love Larry Nance. I think he was really chalk the last slate. Okongwu was out, and for some reason he's not picking up the ownership yet. So I think that's a very sharp call. I think he's and also probably a pivot to a 30% owned Anthony Black around that price point. So love that call.
Nice. That's a good pivot. Between the two, my answer is probably always just going to be the lower owned guy when there's this big of a difference, and we're getting a pretty decent price discount by playing a Larry Nance too. So if these projected ownerships are accurate, which our ownerships have been pretty good this season.
Yeah, I think we should get a little bit more ownership to Larry. We'll see. Maybe not, but people are probably still adjusting.
That's true. Yeah, I would expect Larry Nance to come in slightly higher than this, especially once we get the confirmed starting lineup. That we just no, we didn't.
Yeah.
Dyson Daniels is back though, so that's going to cut into usage a little bit. I think this affects Jalen Johnson the most, if I'm not mistaken. And so, as much as I've loved Jalen Johnson this year, his price came up a little bit while Dyson Daniels was out. He was doing a little bit more of the ball handling. I'm wondering how much of that is going to be taken away today. He's still a great play. It's a 2-game slate, but I'm actually a little bit nervous about him today.
Yeah, pretty much on the same page as you there. He had a really good first half last game, but he's up to 8,400 now, like you mentioned. Seems a little bit steep for a price point. So I'm pretty much on the same page as you there.
We don't care too much about individual matchups, but if Zion is in, he's got to see Zion on the other side of the court. I guess on both sides of the court, so could have a little bit tougher of a time with him. But again, if Zion's out, we lose a pay up, and then Jalen Johnson's going to look better. So I guess we just got to see there.
Yeah, Zion is such a big piece of news. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like it's the whole slate.
It is.
Daniels is playing. Yeah. Daniels sounds. I think he was confirmed in, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think he was. Double check.
While you're doing that, we'll start looking over at Dallas. I mean, Luka Doncic's top of the model. 21% on DraftKings on a 2-game slate is mind blowing. Orlando, like I mentioned earlier, it's a lower total, but they have a much faster pace than last year. This is not the Orlando that we saw last year, and Luka has not been playing like Luka. But you get a player with the potential ceiling that he has in a decent matchup when they're missing their best player. The other team is missing their best player. I mean, I'm going to be well over the field on Luka tonight. What about you?
Yeah, man. I think that's a fantastic call. He's just obviously whenever we get Luka this low on such a small slate, the raw points alone can win you the slate.
Mm-hmm.
We saw this last slate or last night. Giannis, I think, had like 65. A lot of the winners just had Giannis because he put up a huge point total. So love that call.
Yeah, Luka's overdue. It's just he's taking so many shots a game and he's not making them.
Yeah, exactly.
His assists feel down, his rebounds feel down. And just it's gotta regress, right?
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, his shooting is probably going to regress. I feel like he's going to come to his own very, very soon. So I agree.
I wonder if his ownership goes up a lot if Zion ends up ruled out, because it would give us more value plays and it'd be much easier to fit him in. I mean, we got Kyrie Irving coming in for almost twice the ownership, and I can't say it's wrong. Kyrie Irving's at a pretty good price. His usage has been up. He's been good while Luka's been bad. So what do you think about playing both of these guys in the same lineup together?
I mean, it's a 2-game slate, so I think it's totally fun to do. I don't know. I typically like to play one or the other, but for upside, I like to play one or the other. You could play both, but if you do, I definitely would run it back with one of these top guys for Orlando. Suggs, Wagner.
I was gonna say, yeah, probably has Suggs or Wagner in the lineup.
Yeah.
Usually on bigger slates, I'm pretty against these two specifically in the same lineup, but today I think you have to allow it.
Yeah, just about to say that. Agreed.
And with what Jason Kidd's going to do at center, it has been Gafford starting the last few games, so I guess we just talk as if Gafford's starting, but they kind of play the same minutes anyway, so it's not a big deal. If I'm not mistaken, they both got into foul trouble in the last game, so was it Dwight Powell that saw a few minutes, but we're not really expecting that most of the time, even with Maxi Kleber out tonight.
Yeah, I looked at those two. I think they're both fine. It's always like, which one is it going to be, Gafford or Lively? I think it kind of depends on, the opposing center. So if it's Wendell, who would you lean, Gafford or Lively? I mean,
it's not. I don't think it's going to affect too much for me.
Yeah, shouldn't affect too much. But
thinking about that one there, what I am looking at though is how Gafford. So he's projected for 5 less minutes than Lively, but his DK value score is a decent bit higher. His FD value score is much higher, slightly higher OF index, and his ownership is less. And so this happened on the previous slate. I think it was the same thing, and Gafford was showing up in my lineups, and I hated it, and I don't think he got there at all. But at 14 and 15% on this short of a slate, I mean, the model's telling us that Gafford is a value on here.
Yeah, I typically lean Gafford here too, but I totally get, getting to Lively as a pivot.
And then what are you going to do with like PJ Washington, Clay Thompson, maybe Najee Marshall?
Yeah, these guys are all fine in tournaments. It's just I don't know about you, but this year I've had a very difficult time kind of picking these guys out. PJ had a couple games. Obviously, Clay had a big game. I would lean PJ if I was getting to any of them, but these guys aren't like priorities for me. How about you?
I don't know if I'd call him a priority. I definitely want to be over this 18% on DraftKings. 5,300. What? Because he had a bad game last game. I mean, he probably doesn't project great tonight, but it's a 2-game slate. I think he deserves a little more ownership. He's been on a hot streak, so I wouldn't be surprised if he actually came in slightly higher than projected. But either way, it's probably still too low on this slate.
Yeah, I can back that.
And then I just want to take a quick look at Najee Marshall, projected for under 5% ownership on each site. He's 3,600 on DraftKings, 15, 16, 22 minutes in the last three. This could be enough on tonight's slate if it lets you fit in the right pieces and the other spots in your lineup. So don't forget about Najee Marshall. It's not about him putting up that ceiling. It's about him letting you put the rest of the guys in there.
Yeah, I agree. I think between him and Nance, I feel like we covered two low guys around 4K that I think that are good GBP plays.
I hate that they give us news for tomorrow in the middle of before today's even started, but we did get news Wendell Carter's available to play, so that's good. We don't have to make any changes there. Anything on Dallas before we go back to Orlando real quick?
Yeah, I think we covered everyone. Were you gonna? How much Clay did you think you're gonna play today? Because for me, I probably won't get. He's gonna be 36% on FanDuel, projected to be. I don't know, man. What's your take?
I'm guessing he's kind of lower owned on DraftKings, right?
Yeah,
17%. Yeah, I'm around the 17% on DraftKings. I think he's a good GPP play.
yeah. Obviously, that shooting obviously always puts him in play, but I think for me, that might be a little bit high on FanDuel, but we'll see.
I will say the model doesn't think very much of him today, so high risk shot. The 37% on FanDuel, the 5,300 is such a good price, but I mean, you still, even if you play 50% Clay, 40% Clay, you still have the other 60% of your lineups to get away from him.
That's true.
Let's see. What about Capella on FanDuel? Clint Capella's been frustrating because the coach does not seem to want to play him big minutes, and Capella does not seem to want to perform. So, with the Congo already out, I mean, what do we think about Capella?
Yeah, so the last slate Kong was out, Capella was like 60% owned. I was a little bit hesitant even at that chalky ownership. I just didn't know his minute cap. We have him projected to play 27 minutes. That he probably plays around there, but I don't know. What's your kind of take there? I feel like he's probably a guy I want to just be around the fields with his minutes uncertainty here.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Okongwu was out in this game against Sacramento where he saw 29 minutes, but
Yeah.
this is the game that Larry Nance only played 8 minutes, so they had to play him because they didn't really have other big men. Nance could cut into some of this 29 minutes. So Capella, we have him projected for 27, 5,500 on FanDuel at center. I mean, center's not particularly strong today. We're kind of punting no matter what we do, and so honestly, Capella should probably be higher than 16% owned on FanDuel.
Yeah. I mean, his floor should be. It's not great, but I mean, on this slate with center not being great, I think he's fine.
I didn't realize how bad this was over on FanDuel. I mean, let's talk about this for a minute. What do we like from here?
You mean just center wise?
Yeah, I mean, what do we do?
I feel like for me, I probably land on probably Capella and Missy the most. That'd probably be my two favorites. Obviously, Wendell is probably going to pick up some steam now. I just really like Missy's upside for FanDuel scoring. So probably if he starts, I'm going to get there the most. But what do you think here?
I think I'm with you on Missy.
Yeah,
Yeah, like Capella seems like an easy play. We haven't projected for 27. If he plays the 27, he's going to be fine at 5,500. He has a ceiling. But Missy, I mean, if we're punting center, no matter who we play, kind of, why not just punt and save the most money and pay up everywhere else?
yeah, completely agree there. And we should get a similar minutes for Missy to Capella, and yeah, for cheaper. So
Yeah, I kind of like it. So sounds like a lot of Luca on FanDuel.
yes, sir.
42% makes sense.
Love Luca today. Love him.
I was really hoping we were going to get Zion news right now. Let me see if we can find anything.
I mean, like, what do they have to hide from us, man? Just tell us it's Sunday. Like, there's Sunday night football. Like, just tell us, man. Come on.
All right, so there's a video on Twitter of him shooting free throws, and he is not. Oh, it's not even a free throw, but he is not moving.
Oh yeah, he's gonna sit.
He's warming up. I mean, I guess he's trying to go. He's warming up, so actually, I think we actually have to talk about this as if he's in,
Okay.
since he's on the court. If we get something that changes that in the next few minutes, but I mean, so with or without Zion, Brandon Ingram's going to look pretty good as a tournament play tonight. He is super owned, but I mean, if Zion's out, him and Alvarado and Hawkins are kind of the whole team right now.
Yeah, just about to mention that if Zion sits all those guys, look fantastic.
And Jose Alvarado, his price is up to 5,600 on DraftKings. I still think that's not enough. He should be 6K plus, projected for 33 minutes, 45% ownership. I'm going to eat this chalk again, even the 6,100 on FanDuel. I mean, we know how valuable his steals are over there.
Yeah, man, right there with you. I was kind of shocked. I thought he would be like the same ownership as Suggs here. So I'll definitely be over on Alvarado on both sides.
I mean, 35 minutes, 32 minutes, 12 and 13 shots, and this is a reasonable expectation for him to shoot, regularly.
Yeah.
He only had two steals and three stocks in these two games, so yeah, I like Alvarado tonight. When we build out the dummy, we will have time today. We'll see what we can do with him and Suggs, and if there's any other point guards we can fit in there, Luka.
Yeah, for sure. And once again, Chuck, I feel like we always say this, but all the best plays, only point guard tonight. No
Yeah,
shooting guard eligibility.
I mean, I'm just thinking about like Suggs having that. Or no, Kyrie had shooting guard eligibility. Yeah, so it
Kyrie,
sounds like I'm gonna have 3 point guard lineups on DraftKings in my main contests.
definitely.
I mean, so we talked about getting to some of these like super low owned auxiliary players because no one's playing them on a 2 game slate. But Brandon Boss and Javante are both pulling some ownership. Were you considering them at all?
I think I'd consider more Javante than Austin. But I think, Javante was kind of more hoping that I would play him hoping Zion would be out. So he would just be, better play, in my opinion, if Zion was out. But I think he's still in play, even if Zion plays here. I just don't think I'd prefer him as value. But what do you think about these guys?
Yeah, if Zion's out, he's probably going to be one of the top value plays on the slate. We haven't projected for 20 and a half minutes right now. Even when Zion wasn't playing, he didn't really see. I think Zion missed, 1 game this season. So, but we'll see because they're a little bit more shorthanded now than they were before. 41% on FanDuel seems kind of insane, but I get it. He's only 4K over there, 14% on DraftKings. It's too low if Zion's out, but it's probably appropriate if Zion plays.
Oh, we just got that news.
All right.
Zion,
I mean, I could have just waited 5 minutes and not had to do that. So,
Zion out.
okay, so it's 3:14 Pacific. We have about 15 minutes left. I want to wait a couple minutes for the model to update, but so we've talked about it a little bit, but what are your first thoughts about this?
So I think this obviously makes Brandon Ingram, spectacular here as a spend up. And then you already mentioned, I think both Alvarado and Hawkins get huge bumps in the mid tier for guard. And then we just covered it. Javante Green probably looks like one of the best value plays on the slate now as well.
Yep, I agree on all of the above. And I see Smitty in the chat. Pretty sure Smitty is on the same Jordan Hawkins train that the rest of us are. So this ownership probably comes up, but I know his price is up a little bit, but his role right now is still underpriced for what his role is, especially with Zion out tonight.
Oh, for sure. He's just going to be chucking, man. Hawkins chucks it, which is awesome.
This is interesting. This could be. It was a 4 point game with Zion. How much does Zion move the line?
Probably at least 2-3 points. Maybe that's too much.
Yeah, are the Hawks bad? Because this already seems kind of tight.
Dude, Hawks are not that good on defense, so I'd highly doubt I'd move too much.
Well, I guess we can take a look at how this affects the Hawks. Maybe some stuff here changes a little bit due to matchups, but I mentioned I wasn't sure about Jalen Johnson. I feel a lot better about him now, even with Dyson Daniels coming back.
Yeah, we're just gonna have the salary, right, to spend up to Luka and guys like Jalen Johnson. So Completely fine with it.
Yeah, and Trey Young. I mean, this ownership is crazy, but two-game
Crazy.
slate. We gotta get to him.
Yeah. I think he had a pretty poor shooting night the other night too. Still got there. So yeah, totally fine with Trey as well.
And I know we don't have that much to talk about tonight, guys, but I see a lot of you viewing. Appreciate you being here. Throw any questions or anything you want to talk about in the chat. And if you're interested in getting access to the model for yourself, you can play with all the tools that we have. Just go to occupyfantasy.com, sign up. Pricing. We have packages as low as $7 a week. It's $1 a day. It's one of the best values in fantasy sports.
So my question to you, Chuck, is how many New Orleans are you going to max in your 150?
I'm not
One
gonna put
last
a, I'm not gonna put a rule. So I imagine I could have lineups with 5
Okay,
Pelicans.
I like it.
I want to let's see if we can build out a dummy before we get the model update. We kind of know what we want to do with New
Yeah,
Orleans.
yeah, for
So
sure.
we do one last refresh here. Favorite center play on FanDuel outside of Missy. I think we both agree on Capella, right?
Yeah, definitely Capella for me.
I just in terms of I don't know who's best here, but yeah, Capella, Wendell Carter's fine, and any of the Dallas guys are fine. So actually, I'm not playing FanDuel today, but I don't know if I would take a big stand if I was. But what I said earlier, I mean, you're kind of punting no matter what you do. None of these guys are getting a full run of minutes, so you could just go with the cheapest guy in Missy,
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
especially with Zion out.
Yeah, I love Missy tonight. If he doesn't do good, then I probably won't do good. But
So I kind of just want to start the lineup with 3 point guards, right?
oh yeah, for sure, dude.
We're gonna throw Jalen Suggs, Luka Doncic, and Jose Alvarado. So kills the flexibility, but I feel like these are my 3 favorite plays on the slate.
I mean, who else would you want at Utah? Maybe like another center, but I feel like these guys are all worthy of the spots they're at. So
And this is a good point that Pro Reactor had in the chat. Hawkins dealing with back issues, game time decision. Yeah, if Hawkins is out, it just gets even more disgusting. Just lean more on the other guys. We'll have to see how the model distributes the minutes. But Hawkins did not start the second half last game because he was dealing with those back issues. He missed a few minutes of his rotation, but I'm pretty sure he stayed in for most of the rest of the game, and he actually ended up getting there. Maybe he almost got there. But the point is that, I mean, I'm not going to really let that affect it too much. If he's playing, I have to assume he's good to go for the whole game.
yeah, that's how I think too.
Yeah, he's available, so I'm not going to adjust the minutes I have for him or anything on his projection. So, I mean, do we like? I'm going to put Hawkins in here.
Yeah, I was just about to say I feel like Hawkins is awesome too.
Let me
It's
make
like
sure there wasn't
play the entire New Orleans starting lineup. I'm just kidding.
Brandon Ingram, Jordan Hawkins from Orlando. We already got Jalen Suggs. We don't have to play Isaac. We don't have to play Mo Wagner.
No.
Mo Wagner's still fine, though. We didn't really talk about him too much since Wendell Carter's in, but he's still an okay GPP play. He played terrible in his start, and his price is up. Maybe this is the price he should be if he's starting. So we're kind of overpaying, but we're also overpaying for low ownership.
Yeah, totally fine as like a low own flyer there.
Who are we playing at center on DraftKings?
Ooh, this is tough. Let's go with one of Missy or Capella. I'll leave this one up to you.
Let's do Missy and see what that leaves us for salary. 4K for 2 spots. Sort the model by DK value. Alvarado and Suggs, we already got them both. A few centers in a row, so could do something with 2 centers on DraftKings instead of the 3-point guards.
Yeah, for sure.
PJ Washington, I guess Javonte Green, right?
Yeah, dude, Javonte Green. I mean, plug him in.
So you asked how many Pelicans, and we just put 5 in our dummy. I'm gonna try taking Brandon Ingram out. Just
okay, that's fine.
See what we do. I mean, Kyrie and Luka. No, I have no idea who else to even play besides BI at shooting guard.
Can we could throw Hawkins at shooting guard, right? But I guess
yeah, let's try that.
Let's see what that can do for.
It's 5,900. And small forward, I mean, Franz Wagner, we probably could afford him. Clay Thompson's fine. Ricochet, let's look at Atlanta. Small forward. All right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to assume Larry Nance is starting. We're going to plug in Larry Nance at power forward, Javonte Green at small forward. You can also put in Ricochet for one of these guys.
I like the Nance Coleman. Sharp.
7,700 for forward leaves us Franz Wagner. Or you can downgrade one of these guys, get to a BI. Brandon Boston, yeah, he was. I saw him looking at me there. It's not a bad shout.
Has he been playing a lot, man? I guess he kind of has to, right? With how to put it there regard.
Yeah, you saw 23 minutes in the game that Zion played. So let's see if the model updated for this, because if we can get Brandon Boston in there, 3,800. I mean, it leaves us too much salary, but we can upgrade. Like maybe we don't have to play Larry Nance. We can play Jalen Johnson, get PJ Washington in the forward spot. There's a lot of stuff we can do with this today.
Oh, dude, the model loves Brandon Boston. He's number 3 on the DK value now.
And so when the model refreshes especially after huge news like Zion being out, make sure you wait a couple refreshes for it to really fine tune the rankings. But Brandon Boston, yeah, looks great. Ownership, I expect the ownership to climb, but probably not as much as it should, right? He might be like the forgotten guy, because if Javonte Green is starting, people are probably going to flock to him.
Oh, yeah, definitely Javonte if he starts.
And then Jamal Cain. I just feel like we got to talk about everyone. It's a 2-game slate, and they're really shorthanded. Jamal Cain, 24 minutes a couple games ago, 9 minutes in the previous game. Put up 0 fantasy points in 9 minutes, so maybe if he didn't play awful, he had the potential to see more. Not a guy that I'm going to like target heavily, but I will have 8% in my exposures.
Yeah, I mean, Kane, obviously Heat legend, he used to be on the Heat, but I think, if he plays 20 minutes, I don't hate getting a couple percents of him here. Pretty good producer, so.
Yeah, and the model's still distributing the minutes. It still has 26 Zion minutes to distribute, so Brandon Boston already projected for 21. I could see that going up a couple. And then we mentioned him earlier, Jeremiah Robinson Earl. I think he has to get minutes at the 4.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Courtney, we can't do FanDuel on this. Like, we can't do the FanDuel website because it doesn't really work that well on the stream. But if I was building my FanDuel lineup, I would be starting with Luka and Alvarado, Jalen Suggs, again, the same 3 players. And we can fit them all. Jalen Suggs has shooting guard eligibility. We talked about the center, so pick one of them. And then I guess just top of FanDuel value. Hawkins looks great. Capella's the top-ranked center on FanDuel at value. His ownership was a little bit less than the other guys. I mean, Brandon Boston's going to be a good play over there too.
Yeah, Boston's definitely intriguing. I got to look into him more.
So Zion's out and Hawkins is in for sure. Well, Zion's out for sure. Jordan Hawkins, they said he's available to play, so he's in. Yeah, he should be starting.
Yeah. Hawkins is playing.
And then, are you doing the Discord today?
Yeah, we'll Discord right after this. So I'll do my best to break down how many Pelicans, 5, 6. I'm just kidding. But a lot of Pelicans.
Yeah, so once we have more information in a few minutes with the model updating, Jayhawk will be in the Discord to kind of help break that down again. Instructions to access that are in the description below. And let's see. Just want to see if this model is going to update before we get out of here. We have about 5 more minutes before we have a hard out. Okay, so Zion's out of the model, but still wait a couple refreshes, wait a few minutes for it to fully, get to where it wants to be. But yeah, Brandon Boston kind of broke value today. Jose Alvarado looks even better. Hawkins looks great. Missy looks great. Brandon Ingram looks great. Javonte Green, I'm assuming he's starting. Even if he's not, he's still going to look great.
Yeah, all these guys look great. What's funny is we literally just had Atlanta, and this is the same exact spot, like 3 or 4 slates ago, and now they're the one going up against New Orleans. So it's funny.
again, like the model is still crunching, but to see a player like Jose Alvarado with an OF index this good, it's not common.
Oh yeah, for sure. Above Suggs too. Oh, not above Suggs, but close.
Who's playing in Zion's spot? I'm assuming it's Javonte Green. Let me see if I can try to get to this a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's Green. Because I don't think he started last game. So
Does Larry Nance get a big bump with Noah Kongwu? In theory, he does, yeah, but he has, as long as he plays. The thing is, like, his minutes are still kind of sketchy. We're not confident that he could play over 20 minutes. I mean, he could, but we haven't projected for 17. It does seem light, but I think it's fair because if we projected him for much more, we'd be getting him in every lineup.
yeah, he's fine. I still like him in tournaments. I think having that uncertainty with his minutes is going to push the field off him. So I like him a lot in tournaments.
Yeah, he's going to be a pretty good tournament shot. So Zion, Javonte Green. Javonte Green did check in for Zion. They played alongside each other, but I mean, from what I'm looking at, he is the guy who's in the game when he played every minute that Zion wasn't on the court.
Yeah, that would make sense. So he should start.
Yeah, he should start. And like the same kind of thing applies that I just said about Larry Nance. It's really hard to project these guys for more than 27 minutes because if we do, every lineup we make is going to have 5 or 6 Pelicans in it.
Yeah, it's so tough not to play, a bunch of these guys, man.
The core four for a tournament on DraftKings. Well, this is a dummy we just put together. I mean, I would say the core my core has Luka because we have all the value to pay for him. His ownership's going to come up from what we were talking about earlier. Jalen Suggs, Jose Alvarado are my 3 favorite plays, and then probably Javonte Green over Brandon Boston just because his minutes are probably more secure, right?
Yeah, I think Javonte is definitely safer. Boston, good tournament upside play.
Yeah, but we do have a need for a shooting guard, though, because shooting guard is kind of weak over on DraftKings if you're not playing Brandon Ingram. So Boston, Kyrie Irving, Hawkins, those are like the guys that fit for me.
Yeah, right there with you. I think all those guys look good.
If Green starts for Zion, who gets that backup bump for Zion? Missy and Tice. It's like hard to guess if Missy's going to start tonight again with no Zion. Either.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I still think he's fine, and if he gets like pushed out, like if his ownership comes down, which I don't think it will, but I just think I don't know, man. I think he's actually a decent producer, and I think he's too cheap. So
yeah, even if Missy comes off the bench, I'm still going to have some interest in him because he could still play more minutes than Tice. They just want to split up, I guess, how they have their rotations tonight.
Yeah, I agree.
Top cash plays. Is Ingram a top cash play? He probably is now, right?
I think he has to be Suggs, Alvarado, Ingram, all those guys.
Yeah, I mean, Luka top of the model. We have all the value to fit him. I don't think there's any reason not to play him. So Jayhawk was talking about this earlier, something like this, but Luka doesn't have to hit his ceiling to be in the winning lineup tonight. This is not an 8-game slate. It's a 2-game slate. So those raw points that he gets are, it could be important. We have 5 payups on the slate. Kyrie, Jalen Johnson, BI, Trae Young, and Luka. So a lot of these lineups are going to have. Are you sensing some chalky lineups tonight?
Oh, for sure, dude. Everyone's gonna jam New Orleans as they should, but I just feel like, and then obviously people want to play Franz Wagner. I'm not saying you should, go heavily under Red and Wagner, but just getting up to Luka here, getting, probably 50 at least, potential to get 60 plus. I think it seems too simple to me. So I'm probably just going to play a bunch of Luka too. So we'll see.
And just sorting by OF index, that's kind of the only ownership leverage we're really getting is on Luka. I still wouldn't be surprised if this came in a little bit higher. Clint Capella at 15% sounds good. Dyson Daniels at 10%. People might forget about him today, and it's really hard to fit in another guard, but he is there at 10%. PJ Washington, Klay Thompson. And then sorting by DK value, Brandon Boston, top of the DK model.
Yeah. And then don't forget about who was our lone shot, Najee Marshall, 3,600, another guy, if you want to get low ownership.
Yeah, that's this is such a deep shot. Now, I'm still going to have 8% of him in my exposures, but me talking about him being a good shot, he's not nearly as strong of a play as he was earlier just because we got all this better New Orleans value now.
Yeah, I agree. I just was just gonna throw him out there, just as like a very, very, very low owned.
He should get minutes. Yeah, no, he's definitely in play as the pivot. And then we have 4 centers showing up with pretty good value. 2 of them, a lot of ownership. 2 of them not. So, there are ways to find some leverage today, but that'll do it. If you want to get a little bit more in depth, Jayhawk, join the Discord. Again, instructions are in the description below. We really appreciate you guys being here. Jayhawk, any final words?
I mean, enjoy the Pelicans. Hopefully, they don't have a bad game here, and let's go make some money tonight.
And I'll get this one real quick. Matthews or Kane? Just check that out real quick. You know what? Join the Discord and Jayhawk will have his answer for you. But we appreciate you guys. We'll see you.